Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, The New Order, Last Days of Europe, as the Central Siberian Republic, the Federation. Now, in the last video, we went ahead and reunited Central Siberia under our banner, and we're working on kind of dealing with some of our issues. We had a little uprising, which we dealt with pretty swiftly. Honestly, it was kind of embarrassing on their part. I feel kind of bad for them. But yeah, now we have to just go ahead and work on our centralizing. So let's go ahead and say bread and games. Above all else, everyday people desire just two things: bread to feed themselves with, and games with which to entertain them. So long as these are provided and made easily acceptable, there will be little cause for unhappiness and unrest among the people, and therefore very little room for extremist organizations to grow and gain strength. While some sacrifices must be made to achieve this, they are more than worth the current and future stability of our state. There we are. So our stability is absolute dog shit. Our war support's actually not too bad, though, I'm noticing, which is nice. And for now, that might not be the worst thing to do, actually. I don't know. We can invest in construction. I don't think we're building anything right now, though, so that's probably not the best. I think we'll probably want to get working, improving some of these guys as soon as we can. Our GDP is going up, so is our debt a bit, but hey, what are you going to do? It was early in the morning when Radio Free Siberia's programming changed in the newly integrated territories, and you would not fully realize what changed itself, but it happened nonetheless, and was permanent all the same. At first, the changes were subtle, announcements focusing on the improvements of civilian supply, including foodstuffs, consumer goods, and the like, but they soon increased, both in frequency and intensity. The advantages of the new administration over the former in terms of goods delivery became an objective fact. Then this progress to clear statements about the superiority of the Federation itself. Of course, life was better now. Of course, employment options were superior in number and in opportunity. Of course, the lanes were safer and more secure for the average citizen. How could any aspect of existence not be more optimal? Most people claimed to their friends and neighbors that they ignored the obvious propaganda, and to some extent they did, but the concepts constantly spouted were never further than earshot away, and over time, they were internalized, just as the propagandists intended. A variant of the truth, at least, surely? Let's do the vestiges of revolt. The scars of a workers' revolt still remain, and if nothing is done, soon they will continue to fester unabated. We must remind the working class of Siberia that no matter what their grievances may be with our administration, rebellion will not be tolerated. In addition to repairing the damage still left over from the fighting, we will restore order to the industrial sectors of the region, let any potential dissenters know that we are still in charge. Several methods have been proposed, and it will ultimately be up to our wise and noble president to decide which will be the best course of action. Okay, let's go ahead and let's expand some state welfare programs. That sounds good to me. National Republic, okay. We're good for a good long while. We won't have to worry about really anything. Not even raids anymore. Shoot, yeah. Construction speed is not going up anytime soon, it seems. Which is not good. I was looking at our improvement stuff, and it's not doing too bad. So it certainly could stand to improve. Let's go ahead and work on some more industrial stuff, namely, supervising the agriculture sector. The lands of the Altai near Novosibirsk are incredibly fertile, being almost without compare in the region and potentially invaluable asset to our plans. However, attempts to make use of its natural bounty are impeded by the great disarray and inefficiency presented in our agricultural sector, a problem that we are increasingly forced to give our attention to prevent it from worsening. Fortunately for us, there is a simple solution to this, which is establishing firm and vigilant supervision of the whole sector, allowing us to streamline and organize it. There we are. Let's get working on that. We're getting some good PP, so we'll be able to work on something else soon. I'm thinking something that'll just increase GDP outright. Importing heavy machinery? Seems like it'll do that, so let's do it. Vyatka's looking pretty thick right now, not gonna lie. Damn. Support weapons, industrial support. What do we want to work on next? Let's get working on the new generation of RPGs. I think that'll be good. We got Cheetah versus Irkutsk. So far they're winning. We'll see whether they can beat the mandate or not. Get another guy in. Next, let's go ahead and do some subsidies for mechanization. The Siberian peasantry has long been utilizing awfully outdated methods and techniques, with some of them dating back to the time of the Tsars. This backwardness produces two warring consequences for Federation: a low agricultural output and large swaths of our workforce being tied up in inefficient activities. We will mechanize our countryside. With subsidies and loans, our farmers will be able to afford the most modern machinery, rapidly producing and breaking our reliance on large numbers of manual laborers. That's just going to be good all around. There we go, the Tokyo Olympics have come to an end. Beautiful. Poverty rate is slowly going up now. Agriculture is going up pretty quickly, actually. Very nice. Whew. Industrial equipment will be going up even quicker. Which, you know, that's pretty nice. I'll take that. How quickly can Cheetah move? The Divine Mandate isn't even done with Kamchatka. So I'm actually... If I had to pick a winner... Stalaker. Okay. If I had to pick a winner, I'm kind of leaning towards Cheetah right now. Let's do some sensible concessions, I suppose. Someone suggests that an ironclad hand is necessary to prevent unrest among the labor, but they fail to realize that such methods would only inflame working men's anger even more. The last thing we need right now is to pour gasoline on the embers of a last disaster, so perhaps a different approach is needed. We shall reach out to prominent union leaders and labor activists to work out some sort of agreement that would be best for both parties. If successful, we will kill two birds with one stone. All workers will have no reason to revolt against us, and our industry can finally achieve its past glories. All that remains now is to make the arrangements. Beautiful. Divine Mandate. Yeah, it took him long enough. Harold Wilson. Old Jolly-o, mate. This one you don't see very often. And again, I'll take anyone who isn't Margaret fucking Thatcher. It's not even fun to yell her name anymore because I see her so fucking often. Ooh. Status quo. You can think of worse options. Constantine stared out of the fields of his farm, a gently rocking sea of amber, lit up by the cold morning sun. The boards of his porch creaked under his feet as he stepped up to the railing, taking in the breath of crisp air. Harvest season was almost upon him, and he could just about taste it in the wind as he watched his children running around, carefree, through acres of wheat, playing some game that only existed in their precious little minds. Constantine let a smile creep across his face, remembering when he and his family were nothing but another group of battered refugees. But things are different now. Better. His children now smiled and laughed and will not have to worry about where their next meal would come from. The fact was very apparent as Constantine felt the telltale scent of a cooking breakfast waft past his nose. They'd come so far and they'd done it all themselves. The blisters of cuts in their hands after clearing acres of brambles, the rackets of hammers striking nails, and saws biting through wood when they rebuilt the house were breakfast now sizzled in pan. The soreness in his arms after working for hours sowing the fields, it was all worth it. For once he felt like he belonged somewhere. This was where he was meant to be, not by the grace of God, but his own will. Constantine had a home for his family, beautiful fields to watch with their own bounty to harvest soon. And most of all, he was able to watch his children play without a care in the world for the first time in ages. Bright sun, brighter future. Oh, that's beautiful. What do we want to do? Worker training? That research bonus for industry is actually very nice. So we might want to do that next. Will enshrine Vasiliev's state? Yeah. We must push forward with the idea of a state built on the principles of national stabilization and strength above all else, and managed by military officers who have proven their competence. Effective and capable men are necessary to unite all of Russia under the Federation, and the past failures of a state such as the Central Siberian Republic, which thought of stability and security as secondary concerns, has only proven further the necessity of a structure for the sake of peace. Here we are. Oh. Improve worker training. We got power tools building up. Our agriculture rate is popping off. What's poppin'? Oh, Omsk is winning! Oh my god! Oh shit! Grigory had worked in the factories of Novosibirsk for many years. He'd seen many regimes offer many promises, and he'd seen many of these promises broken. But he had very recently noticed that some promises had been kept. At first he'd hardly believed it, but it was true all the same. Operating conditions within his factory in terms of both safety and workload had improved. He found himself at the end of the day still possessing considerable energy. With the chance to speak, with the chance to relax. This was most unusual. It also led to Grigory asking many questions. Why was this the case? Was the Federation's government truly committed to reform that he had promised, and originally dismissed as yet another empty pledge? Were they temporary measures intended to only placate the thousands upon thousands of workers who had risen in the Great Revolt? And if so, how long would they last? For a long while, Grigory debated these questions within himself until he realized at long last that the answer did not matter, or that, if it did, it certainly did not matter to him. No matter what it truly was, his workday had quite simply gotten both easier and safer. And that was good enough for him. Things are better. Who cares why? Oh my god. Omsk! Man. Preparing for my 900 sub run, which is going to be Omsk. Still have to prepare for the 800 sub run, but, you know, we'll get to that. Vasily Shushkin was a problem as far as the Federation's central government was concerned. He was furthermore growing in both popularity and activity, and this prompted a similarly growing concern against the Vasilievsk elite. Although he was always considered a dissident, rallying against the increasing centralization of the government from his maddeningly secure office within Barnaul, he'd always been personally manageable. He had always been of little relevance. His message had always been able to be contained. This was no longer the case. Under Vasilievsk-dominated central government, there is always going to be many people who lost out, who did not reap the massive rewards that their betters did. And while they may not have individual power, there were a lot of them. They were now, along with others, were turning out to Shushkin's public rallies. In slowly but ever-increasing numbers, conflict seems inevitable. The only question that none can of yet answer is who will at the end emerge victorious. There are always malcontents under any system. Let's make a nod to democracy. Though it might seem unwise to rely once more on a system that failed us all miserably, there's an argument to be made for allowing the masses a greater measure of democracy, mainly that would serve to placate those hesitant to accept our government. This would take the form of minor concessions and reforms within the state, as well as opening more leadership positions to civilians and supporters of democratic power. Of course, we would not go so far as to allow the people to have real power over them, but by appearing to scale back control over them, they may be more eager to serve our purposes. Sure. Next, what do we want to do? Probably allow some education funding. Or some mechanization. That does improve GDP, actually. Oh. Okay, Cheetah's making enough pushes. Is that Lyndon Big Johnson? Oh my god. America's looking pretty based right now, not gonna lie. Oh, the shield has broken. The Gross Afrikaner Reichsstadt. Yeah, let's invest in some scientific research. How's it going, Lyndon? Looks like it's going pretty good. In the city of Tomsk, a cheering crowd was gathered for the inauguration of Alexander Voznesky as mayor. A small but important step for free and fair democracy in the Federation. After all, Voznesky had once been a high-ranking bastillard, directing their economic policy, and thus helping to ensure the financial security of the Republic in its later days. The Republic was dead and gone now, though, and the Federation stood in its place. To make the best of it, Voznesky had joined forces with Shukshin and stood as a candidate of liberty in the latest Tomsk mayoral elections, ultimately proving triumphant through his ideals. Now he would govern one of the most important cities of the Federation and aid Shukshin's cause further, in order to return to this great city a semblance of freedom it once enjoyed. Even as he waved to the crowd as he walked up the steps of a stage from which he would be inaugurated and then gave his victory speech, he knew that this would be no easy task to accomplish. Fierce opposition awaited the lovers of democracy at the highest levels of the current government. Then again, good men never did the right thing because it was easy. In freedom, men find truth. Beautiful. Let's reward our allies. Promises are promises, and we've made quite a few of them to our corporate friends during our time of crisis. Now that we're in less immediate danger, they expect these promises to be kept, and our government has always at least met expectations. We shall grant with them new and more generous contracts with the Federation to allow them to expand and exploit the resources of our new territories under our control. This will make their past investments in our cause profitable and convince them that their continued cooperation with us would be in their best interests. There we are. Yeah, their loyalty could use some improving. Siberia is okay, but Phoenix, especially Titan, holy crap, Titan is kind of low. How's our political compass looking? We are very right wing apparently. Go figure. Wow. Okay. Ooh. We have received a telegraph from the office of Konstantin Rokossovsky, Marshal of the Ural Military District in Sverdlovsk. He plans to attack Omsk and destroy the Black League once and for all, but in order to do that, he needs our help. He wants to stage a border skirmish along Omsk's eastern frontier. Ooh. Okay. This attack would amount to little more than a series of artillery barrages and meant to distract the League, so Rokossovsky can move in. He promises minimal casualties, if any. Such low-level engagement is unlikely to escalate into proper hostilities, but may get anger Lavkomrik Yazov. The problem of Rokosovsky is unable to bring him down. What is our response? You know what? He is a threat to all of Russia. We'll stand with him. We'll put our troops on the border. Let's get working on some industrial stuff. How can we hope to cultivate a world-class economy when our people continue to go off on their lives without an education to speak of? To say that our education system is in shambles would allude to the existence of such a system to begin with. In reality, any semblance of a proper schooling body fell into the abyss along with the rest of the Soviet Union over 2 decades ago. Let us finally lay out the groundwork for a proper education system. We shall develop new curricula and guidelines for the classrooms to make sure that the students of the Federation are being taught in the ways of the modern world. Beautiful. Oh. Sverdlovsk is actually making a okay comeback. Relative. We'll see if that's enough for them. Better RPGs. Do doctrine. Combine operations. It's always the go-to. Maybe some engineers. Let's do recon, actually. That'll be good. Up and yeah, Herman Vorman is one. The front is looking thick. Jesus. Yeah, they basically got. I think they just got. Yeah, they got a free Komi conquer. I think they got a free dub there. Establish education standards. Let's do some grants for research and development. We're never going to be able to stay ahead of our rivals when the entire Federation still uses technology methods that wouldn't look out of date 30 years ago. Unfortunately, having an advanced society is a bit more complicated than just waiting for skilled scientists and technicians to appear. To speed the process along, we shall strategically design certain sectors within the nation to receive specialized grants to aid research and development. Once we grease wheels a little, the next generation of scientists will be within our reach. There we go. Yeah. It should work. Omsk is kind of winning. They're kind of losing. Well, they're kind of losing more. They might take Sverdlovsk, which if they... No, they did not... They're not going to take Sverdlovsk, apparently. They got an encirclement there. Actually, it broke through, so they might have time to push him out. I don't know, it's rough. It keeps going back and forth, so I don't know how it's going to end up, honestly. But, if I had to guess, it's... We'll wait and see. Battle of Barcelona. Oh. There we go. Omsk has prevailed. Let's maintain the equilibrium. For the first time in many months, our cities are finally returning to their pre-revolt orderliness. There's still work to be done. Old ghosts from the unification wars still haunt our new territories to this very day, and they will need to be exercised if our Federation wishes to move forward into a bold new future. A high police presence will dissuade our new subjects from any foolish action, but a strong show of force is only half the battle. Meetings will be held with provincial mayors and governors across Siberia to discuss the best ways to finish the integration of these troubled lands. With luck, we won't have to give too many concessions in the name of stability. Oh dear. Yeah. Zhukov is winning. Oh no. How boring. Damn. Denmark is hanging on. Norway. It's democratic. Let's hire some foreign instructors, actually. Are you sure about this, Luca? His former colleague asked. Yes, Mikhail. Do you have a better suggestion? No, I just never thought I'd be working for Titan. Neither did I. But don't give up hope. Just because the Republic fell doesn't mean we still can't look to the future, huh? Mikhail seemed to consider it silently, finding some solace from the anxiety the whole team felt since Federation troops marched through Tomsk. Luka wished he believed his own words, but he couldn't. After surrender, he found himself alone with Mikhail, Artyom, and 3 other scientists looking to him for guidance. He was prepared to work within a command structure and lead a small team on a single project, not make any decisions for people that would shape the rest of their lives without any guidance. It wasn't what he wanted, it wasn't fair, and yet here he was. The worst part of that was the simplicity of the choices offered to them. They would work for Titan, or they would not work at all. The sheer injustice of it drove Luca to tears sometimes, but there was simply nothing else. Titan brought out everything. There was no other way. Something died in him every time he told himself that, but perhaps it was for the best. It made it easier to look his team members in the eye when he spoke to them. Luca looked to the rest of his team while Mikhail stared out of the window in contemplation. They sat quietly at the usual lively discourse dead and gone. No more theories, no more arguments, no more idealism. Instead, their eyes revealed the same image as in Luca's heart, a lonely flame in the dark, finally sputtering out. But without the Republic, what are we even working for anymore? The same thing we've always been working for, Lucas said, his lip twisting in a lifeless smile as he repeated the motto of his soon-to-be employer. Progress. Man. The events keep going from mildly optimistic to pretty fucking bleak. Damn. Let's do some special administrative zones. Our foes during the Unification War were a diverse bunch of nothing else. The mad monarchists of Kemerovo to the armchair philosophers and artists of Tomsk. They all had vastly different approaches to governing their lands, and bafflingly enough, most of them worked. Why change what is already working? As long as these regions remain loyal to us, there is no need to crack down on them. Special administrative zones have been established in these formerly hostile territories to continue the administrative methods of their previous owners, while still bringing them in line with our own ideals of governance. Any regions whose administrations cannot be adapted, however, can always be granted to our friends in the industrial sector. Huh. There's no hope left for the people of Slovakia. Feels bad. Yeah, the front is gonna win. Kinda boring. I was hoping for someone other than the front. But what are you gonna do, I guess? Omsk winning will be interesting. Though we'll see if the AI can actually manage to keep them together. And then Cheetah. We'll see what happens there. Well, I'm not. It's not looking too good for Cheetah right now. I'm not gonna lie. Rosa looked forlornly at the Phoenix building, squatted in her beloved Kansk. The sinking hulk dominated the street. All brand new concrete and steel, a line of little ants stood in front, each clutching for job applications. She wanted to hate them for forsaking anarchy, for selling their labor to pins to the invader. Those same men and women who only a short time ago sang the old songs and praised Makhno and Kropotkin now suddenly awaited entering the capitalist machine. Rosa felt tears well up in her eyes, remembering the way things used to be. She missed her red and black cap, her companions, and the joy they shared together in building a future for all Russians. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Was the past so easily forgotten? Could she wake up all day after day, and pretend she wasn't an outspoken anarchist? That's when she locked eyes with him. Vavilov, once an organizer for collective factories, stood in line, shame and a deadness permeating his gaze. The two anarchists had once been exceptional friends and companions in labor. But now here they were, standing at one another at the Kansk Street. They never would speak again. Rosa realized she had seen the same look in her eyes, the same agony and sense of betrayal of herself. She clutched her Phoenix job application and shuffled forward in line with the rest of them. Mother Anarchy would not recognize her sons. But hey, we reduced the administrative strain on the state. Next, let's go ahead and do some active measures. There are many ways one can influence the course of history to their liking. Some of these changes may appear small, but make big changes in the grand scheme of things. After all, the ship changes its course only slightly, the destination shall be entirely different. In this instance, our destination is strong and stable Russia. Our security forces are no stranger to manipulating the chain of events to suit our purposes. A few dishonest media campaigns here, a counterfeit document or two there. All our agents must do is pull a few strings, and the minds of our people will be forever focused in a more suitable direction. After all, an ignorant citizen is a content citizen. Well, yeah, Omsk is very not happy right now with us. How's our construction doing? We're getting the infrastructure. Building that slowly but surely. We could invest in some construction, actually. Moderately improve some GDP. The article was fairly damning to the establishment. Ludmila could see that. That's why no one ever would. It was a shame, really. The article was truly an exceptional piece of journalism, written with integrity and genuine passion. Of course, no one ever read it, and tragically the journalist in question would have to be dealt with. Ludmila had been undercover with the paper for months now, being an unassuming and as by the books as possible. She'd interacted with her co-workers just enough to avoid suspicion, just enough for them to open up to her. This was how the article, dealing with Bagrishkin-backed corporate corruption and not-so-legal union-busting methods, had come across her desk. Artyom was a good man, young and idealistic, ready to crusade against injustice with his typewriter and pen. Perhaps the greatest shame was dealing with the young crusader. Once the article had been destroyed, and Artyom had made a tragic point of telling Ludmila to be careful with it, as he had no copies, Ludmila would destroy him. The police were already in her pocket, had already agreed to arrest Artyom on the charges she had fabricated involving the indecent images of questionable age another SB agent had left in his home. A small price to pay for stability. Damn. Let's do a controlled political spectrum. Although we have little actual chance of taking power again, it's always wisest not to underestimate the ambitions of the extreme movements on the left and right. In order to weaken them, and therefore strengthen our government, we will pit them against each other, distracting them with their petty ideological struggle while convincing the people of their dangerous and violent nature, thereby slowly reducing them to irrelevancy without having us to act openly against them. By doing so, we will take control of all the politics in the Federation and keep the demagogues in check. What's our voting law, anyway? Elite voting going to registered voting, I guess. Ooh, what do we got here? We can allocate. Do that. Approved anti-tank equipment. Support equipment. Improved anti-tank. Recon companies 2, combine operations. Recon company 3s, why not? And what next? Some industry stuff would probably be pretty good. Civilian construction 3, why not? Do some poverty relief programs as well. Our world invest in construction, alright. Protest, many would later agree, was doomed from the start, forming in Kemerovo focused on opposition to the government's increasingly tight grip on what it considered acceptable political viewpoints. Those organizing and subsequently participating in it hailed from a wide variety of backgrounds. They included provincial officers, workers' representatives, disaffected bureaucrats, activists of all types, and in several cases old proponents of the fallen neo-Rurikids. This gave them great numbers, yes, but as became increasingly evident, also made any form of united action near impossible. Those protesters on the rightward edges of the spectrum argued and clashed with those on the left. Both despised the weakness of those in the center, and those in the center reciprocated, refusing to pander to extremists of any faction. Police had naturally been called out, and had been in the original intention of the government to disperse the protest, violently if need be, but as the hours continued, it became clear that such would not be needed. Arguments among the protesters turned to fistfights. Before long, the protests collapsed entirely, dispersing soon after. Some of the most hardened protesters had to be arrested, of course, but it had overall been a great victory, one without much engagement. And many in the government hoped it was a sign of increasing irrelevance of the opposition in general. A bloodless and effortless victory. Ooh. Novosibirsk may be the administrative center of the Federation, but the adjacent city of Barnaul is also an important linchpin in our nation. Its mayor, Vasily Shushkin, has quickly grown to be the second and most powerful politician within the Halls of Power. His particular views on how the state should be run have become prominent as well. Unfortunately, Shushkin's rise has caused some rather predictable tension with his main rival, President Grishkin. In order to put a stop to this bickering before it gets out of control, perhaps it would be prudent to reach out to Shushkin and see if he's willing to compromise in some way. Let's see. The mandate might win, actually. It's kind of boring, because I swear I see him win almost every game. Either them or Tusk. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Okay, Samar versus the front. I wonder who's going to win here. We prefer independence with poverty to servitude with plenty. Siko Torre. For Indonesia versus Indonesia. Centralization. This is centralization. I can't let it stand. Oh, but you will. And when it reaches the floor, it'll pass. Orders from the top. Seriously? Does no one even remember what the word federation means anymore? These measures are blatant political moves to... Dmitri, no one cares. Shut up. Take it to the floor, please. You'll know as much as I do that a single phone call can end your career. Today, Pokrishkin has prepared some measures to increase pressure on Barnaul, the center of Shushkin's power base. Of course, we'll have to go through the Federation's legislative assembly, but with the sway Pokrishkin holds, the web of influence that he and his colleagues nurtured, despite the grunt from Shushkin's goons, there's a good chance that our measures will go through, lessening the power of Barnaul and our influence in the Federation. Let's get this done, then. Let's do all things in a union. The challenge may have seemed insurmountable at first, but at last we can say that our administrative troubles are over. The last wounds of our workers' revolt have finally healed, while our new lands continue to adapt well to the Federation's laws. Most importantly, however, it seems our political disagreements with Barnaul have also been mended, at least for the time being, and last President Grishkin is finally free to shape Siberia however he sees fit. With all the moving parts of our nation working in harmonious unison once again, our Federation will be reforged into a nation of iron, worthy of claiming the mantle of a legitimate Russian government. There we are. Let's do... Ooh. I think we'll want to save up actually and do this. That'll be great. What are you saying to me, Ivan? Yes. Yes. As Pokrishkin swallowed, a harsh silence fell over the receiver. I see what you're saying. Goodbye. Alexander Pokrishkin's anger betrayed his normally cynical exterior, but the ex-aviator did not lash out. He rarely ever did. One of his many confidants sat across from Pokrishkin's desk, his hand tented. I can assume that Ivan was a bearer of bad news. The only response, a simple grimace, was enough to bring the confidant up to speed. I thought we had the numbers. I thought we had the names, Pakrishkin muttered as he stared out of the window into the bustling streets of Novosibirsk. His mind calculated the options busily. A distant memory from long ago, a piece of offhand advice from a friend, floated into his consciousness. Never make a decision angry. Words Pakrishkin tried hard to live by. Barnow's won this round of this game. Pakrishkin stayed rather matter-of-factly, any trace of anger long gone. But their victory is still a fantasy. He might be getting more popular in the opposition circles, but that means nothing. There will be another battle, another war, and that time we'll make sure that there's no winning for the bastard Barnow. His confidant, with little to say, nodded succinctly. It was true, Shukskin's name was whispered from the hypocrisy of Viduma. It seemed more and more every day, but Pakrishkin was in control. I'll look him tomorrow. Can cut some civvy spending. Maybe not the best thing to do right now, but we'll be done with this infrastructure. Should be very nice. And meanwhile, let's check in on all of this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Not bad. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. The economy boomed. The earth divested of her resources. Profits soared, unemployment remained low, the people were happy. The military was strong, staffed by fit young men eager to serve for battle. The Central Siberian Federation stood as a beacon of civilization in the Russian waste. A true city on the hill, if a savage is crowded around it. The air was calm, peace had descended over the land. It was a lie, the peace was nothing but a symptom of what was to come. The air was calm, but it was change, rippling with static. A storm loomed, and both Pakrishkin and Shukskin knew it even if the people did not. They secreted themselves away in their fortresses with their servants, plotting the downfall of the other. This new struggle would not be over land and resources, not for some battle for dead Russia. Armies would not clash in the streets. It would be a war of intrigue, of back-alley deals and political machinations. The Federation held its breath. The war for the heart of Siberia begins. But until then, let's work on expanding the All-Siberian Army. Though we have recently made great gains in our efforts towards reunification of Russia, we still control only a fraction, and much work remains to be done in order to ensure the continued success of our armed forces. The first step in this is to expand the army, making it larger, stronger, and deadlier than ever before, to the point where our enemies will crumble before it. Many other areas of the military need to be developed, but this is the simplest and easiest one. The soldiers of the Federation march on, ever onwards. Yeah, let's do this. And we could cut military spending. I mean, I guess we might as well try it. It's not... I guess it's not really impressive enough to do much. Yeah, what are you gonna do? This is still appearing, so I'll get rid of that for now. Almost just ate up Ugra. No, free aviators. Not. This is Ugra. This is free aviators. Fyodor hastened to strap on his boots as the call was sounded. He was still exhausted from the drills of the previous day. His bones ached, his mind still fogged with sleep. The sergeant clanged a bell so loud it hurt Fyodor's ears. "Move it, Worms! You worthless sacks of shit aren't worthy of being in my beloved army. To the field, now!" Fyodor was old sergeant, and Tomsk wasn't nearly as boisterous, preferring rousing speeches about the defense of democracy against the hordes of the wasteland. This army was different. This army knew it was a big dog in Siberia, and woe betide any who claimed otherwise. Offensive war versus defensive war, supposed Fyodor. The men ran, performed live-fire drills, and sparred, all while enduring the relentless abuse of a sergeant. Despite his former service in the army of Tomsk, Fyodor could have sworn the boot camp he was put in that former nation was far less strenuous. In this new army, his body was hardened just as his mind was broken and reshaped into a soldier of the Federation. As he lay exhausted in his cot that night, brain barely able to form coherent thoughts from the constant fatigue, he really pondered the irony that led him here. Once a defender of democracy, Fyodor was now in service to, well, a slightly different form of democracy. He supposed he could live with that. Think of it as just a change in uniform. We can go ahead and incorporate... Let's do the Siberian Air Fleet. The Air Forces of the Federation have always been one of its greatest advantages, soaring above to rain fiery death on those of our enemies unlucky enough to be below them, and shooting out any foolish enough to try and oppose them in the air. However, it's becoming clear that this is owing to be severely outdated. The planes little more than toys in comparison to those fielded by many modern states. We must begin work immediately to modernize and improve our air fleet and close the technological gap of our proudest military branch. And with that, we're going to have to call it here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for watching, however. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more uploads every weekday, as well as every Saturday. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, anything of the sort, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get and appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat, play games, do any of that fun stuff, I have a Discord. If you want to see me do this sort of live, I have a Twitch. If you want to send a few bucks my way every month, I have a Patreon, all of which are down linked below. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been DB333, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.